Really delighted to be here. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk today to build on the previous presentations about collaboration in AI research, but also research more broadly. And I want to talk a little bit about pave a roadmap for what it takes to have a successful research collaboration from what I've learned from my mentors, advisors, including many at Cohere Labs and elsewhere. And so to dive in, why am I here? I have been really fortunate to be part of some major collaborations in the AI space. When I was a junior researcher, I was collaborating as part of Big Science, which had hundreds of international collaborators to produce Bloom and Roots. And then later, as an intern at Google, there were 50 plus collaborators in an industry setting to put out the Flan collection and the Flan T5 model series, which at the time was the most popular open series of models right after the launch of ChatGPT. And then one of the best experiences I had was collaborating with Marzia and Amit and Sarah as part of, and many others here, as part of the Cohere labs that produced the Aya model, the Aya dataset. And I've been part of some smaller collaborations led by others here that have been phenomenal as well within that setting. But after that, I wanted to sort of launch my own collaborations. And so I started with the Data Provenance Initiative, which expanded to 50 plus contributors across 20 countries, where we did massive data set audits. And then later, a collective of academics got together to write an open letter about an AI safe harbor, which also ended up being co-signed by 400 scientists in the space, but was put together by about 40 researchers. And so altogether, I've had a journey of being part of amazing collaborations and then started to sort of plan my own, and I want to provide the learnings that I've had so that others can do the same. So the agenda is basically, why should you collaborate as opposed to do something by yourself? And then later, can we build a roadmap step by step to do it yourself in a way that's successful? So the first reason why you should collaborate is that more authors plus more interdisciplinary perspectives roughly translates to more impact. So, you're all scientists, or many of you are, or aspiring scientists. And so, if we actually look at the science of science in this space, we see that people have tried to measure the impact of research as a number of, in terms of the number of authors on a paper. And it's not guaranteed, but on average, the impact across these metrics tends to improve with the more authors that you have. I don't think that's just because of self-citation. I think that's also because people actually learn and benefit from a variety of perspectives that can really hone work to be the best version of itself and maybe explore directions that otherwise one person wouldn't have thought of. But people have also looked at the number of interdisciplinary authors. So rather than just a team of computer scientists, what about a team of computer scientists with other disciplines and fields weighing in? And we see that actually it's this sort of bump curve, at least in the studies that I briefly looked at, where if you don't have enough interdisciplinary perspectives, your impact will be lower. But if you have too many, maybe it sort of saturates the variety of views that you have, and it's hard to make them cohesive or align. So really, you want sort of individual projects to have a variety of perspectives, but maybe not too many. Maybe isolate two or three different fields, bring them together to do something that's impactful in each. The second reason that you should collaborate is that AI impact is broader than it has ever been before, and it necessitates this type of collaboration. So if we look at this map from the Anthropic Economic Index, we can see that there are over 1 billion users worldwide across, and this is our estimates, but across Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, and Llama models in products and services that expose general purpose systems. And it's not just in North America and in Europe, it's also in South America, it's in Africa, Australia, the Middle East, and Asia. The only reason China is grayed out here is because they use some other systems rather than Claude. But you can, and same with, Russia and other places, but you can see how broad the adoption has been. We also look at ChatGPT economic records, and it shows that the daily messages per user is increasing across all user categories. And because these systems are so general purpose, they're not just being used to write essays or to help with your coding or math. People are using them for pedagogy and education, art, design, entertainment, office and administrative support, life sciences, sales, healthcare. They're using it as their therapists, as their medical diagnosis, as their legal advice, and sometimes as their companions in ways that are maybe misused and even abused. And so, across all of these new nascent uses, we need not just a computer scientist, but a computer scientist plus experts in these other fields to weigh in on how this can go right and how it can go wrong and how to do things better. So, I took the time to, or quickly, I'll summarize. AI is used more internationally, more frequently, and for both work and non-work related things in more ways than we could have envisioned. We see an acceleration of each of these, and so that means that there's a more opportunities for you to go and explore and hone and improve how AI is used and evaluated. So here I've enumerated some of the research questions that I've thought of over the last couple of months and been interested in exploring to give a sense of just the sheer breadth of things that are understudied and need interdisciplinary collaboration. And on the right, I've underlined and bolded the ones that I've already been fortunate enough to collaborate with. So I've worked with lawyers, economists, journalists, cybersecurity experts, and library scientists already, and it's absolutely benefited my perspective and my career and the impact of my work. But to give you a sense and maybe inspire some questions here, and I'd love to see if others have some that I've missed that they'd love to share in the chat. But you can explore whether AI training might be violating intellectual property or privacy laws, whether it and how it's affecting the economy, the labor force, how it's affecting journalism, whether AI can be used offensively or defensively for cybersecurity. What about for child development and pedagogy, relationships, mental health, and communication, as well as political persuasion? You can think about how AI might be amplifying or hindering creativity and art, as well as many others. So without further ado, I want to dive into a roadmap to build your own research collaboration from the ground up. So I want to start by talking about how to ideate clearly. If you have an idea, you are more likely to attract the best collaborators if you make it very crisp and clear and understandable. And so I'd suggest you write out your idea in a one or two pager maximum. And that should have a few sections. It should have the motivation, the methods, the expected plots. What are the metrics that you expect to measure things with? What are the axes of the figures or graphs you're going to generate? And what are the anticipated lines? Is it going up, down? What do you expect to see in that bar or scatter plot? And then what are the possible outcomes? If the experiment goes well, what do you expect to see? If it goes poorly, what's the negative result that might happen? Enumerate the different things that will happen, and as well as the potential users. Paint a very vivid picture for yourself, your collaborators, and your skeptics before you embark on this project. And that's going to lead me to lesson number one that I learned early from advisors of mine. You want to ask three questions of every research investigation that you embark upon. The first is a simple one. It's about novelty. If you are not to do this research project, will someone do this anyway in the next year? If the answer is yes, then I challenge you to ask, is it really beneficial to do this 2 months earlier than someone else or to be in the race of doing it before you get scooped? What about what you're doing is novel or you have a particular advantage in that, or you've honed the problem to a specific place that you think you might be one of the only people working on it or working on the specific solution that you have? Even if you want to work on something that's at a highly popular space, you can find a variant of it that is more novel and unique and more long-term and maybe risky. The second question is the thing you're exploring informative, or rather, is every possible outcome informative? So if you're running an experiment and you have a positive result, the thing that you thought would work worked well, then that's great. But what if you have a negative result? Or what if it's no different than other methods? You should enumerate all these possibilities and you should pick an experiment that is most informative, meaning If it fails or the worst things happen, the worst outcomes happen, is it still interesting to the community because someone will now see it as a valuable negative result and it will steer their research in a different direction and they'll cite you and be influenced by you. Pick the most information providing experiments whenever you can. And lastly, pick something useful. Can you find the users now? Is there someone that wishes your evaluation set, benchmark, infrastructure, or result was already out so that they can build upon it right now? So rather than a postmortem, you want to do a premortem. And that means anticipate the criticisms and weaknesses of your work. Find your critics, or as they say, your reviewer number two right now. They're already out there. They're going to be assigned to your paper no matter what you do by the laws of reviewing. Go find them now. And if you're not sure who they might be, talk to your advisor. They know who the people, the critical people in the industry are, who's thinking about this, who doesn't like this approach. Find reviewer number two. Before you even have started an experiment, reach out to them with a personalized email, ask them for advice and thoughts, and figure out what their particular issue is with your agenda. And I did this with my AI safe harbor work. We reached out to the companies because our work was innately a little bit critical of some of the things that they were doing. And we got the perspectives from the AI safety teams to figure out why they didn't quite agree or what they wished we would propose instead of what we were saying. And that really reinforced and solidified and rounded out our perspectives in ways that made our work much more defensible against any criticism. The third point is to recruit horizontally and vertically. What do I mean by this? Use your one pager to find people that are interested. Horizontally means don't let geography or institutional boundaries get in the way of finding your ideal collaborators. So we live in the world of Zoom, so that you can use it. Don't just go to the office next door. Find people that you want to work with from different departments and different industries and different areas across the world. But also recruit vertically. So you probably have an aspirational advisor. For me, at one point, that was Sarah Hooker and Marja. And I reached out to them to say, will you advise me or help me on these different research projects that I have with my one pager? I was fortunate at different instances, these advisors said yes. But also for those projects, I looked to recruit people that were more junior. What about senior undergrads or master students that really want to work on your project? Many of them are out there and waiting for that opportunity that was once you. So go and find these people as well. And if it doesn't work out, then they'll fall off the project. But if it does, you're going to find great collaborators and for now and the future. And also, obviously, recruit your reviewer number two. Find your critics. If they align enough and are willing to go with your vision, then do that too. Lesson number two I learned from Sarah Hooker is use interest forms. If you have a senior advisor, you can put a Google form together that gives a high-level project description, ask people for their name and contact, their position experience, time commitment, and timeline. What are they interested in? Why are they interested in your project? And what pieces are they most interested in working on? And from that, you can identify people that you might not have known before, but who have been really eager to work on this type of thing with you, and it will expand your boundaries from your known circles. So Cohere folks have done this a lot to great success, and I'd recommend it. Next is very important. Structure your incentives in a project once you have a team. Incentives really matter. So authorship is really a currency. Collaboration can amplify, but not dilute your contributions. And so be generous with it. People also care about experience. Interesting projects are appealing, and working with you and your advisors might be appealing. Those relationships are appealing to them. The impact they might have from contributing to an open source project might be powerful to them. The visibility of allowing them to co-present this work with you when it goes out, or take some form of credit, or even social media credit, or maintaining the living artifacts. All of these things matter, but it's important to also allow people to own a piece of the project. For the data provenance initiative, the multimodal one, we subdivided teams into people who were lawyers, to the data crawlers, the text team, the vision team, the speech team, and each of them owned various figures and tables, deliverables that made them able to take ownership of their piece. Communicate early and clearly. Relationships may be the greatest long-term impact, so decide expectations early together, decide credit early together, timelines, meeting cadence, and responsibilities. Don't agree who's first, second, third author now. Agree on the process and the contingencies by which this credit will be subdivided later. So you don't remove the incentives for people to work hard and maybe have flexibility for some people to pull back and some people to lean in and really take ownership. Getting this done now will make people happy in the long run and push back against any confusion. The third lesson I want to talk about is that good advisors shouldn't just guide, they should also evangelize your work. So, as well as de risking projects and maximizing impact, they should connect you with your critics and collaborators. They should uplift and, yes, even promote the release of the work and your career. Great advisors find the users and the interest for you because audiences or information flow is imperfect. Sometimes you have to go find the audiences, reach out to the labs that might be interested in hosting you in their reading group or as a presentation because they just weren't familiar unless you got 100,000 views on LinkedIn or X. It's important to help find your audiences and connect your communities, and your advisors can be helpful for that. Six, document your decisions. Shared memory is collective intelligence. Details will fall through the cracks, so write down your methods, your justifications, and what every person did in a living document over time. Lastly, I want to talk about artifacts and visuals. Sometimes the most impactful things that stand the test of time in your projects, beyond your relationships, are the visuals and the infrastructure that are reused. And so I would focus most on these. Focus on reusable infrastructure, the figures, the tables, the interactive dashboards. These are things that people continually revisit. Whereas only, 5% of people will really read, your paper and the minutia of it. Most people will take away the high level ideas. So it's important to encapsulate that well. And a picture is really worth 1,000 words. Um, Lesson number four, and this was really helpful to me to communicate my work, especially in large collaborations where you need to distill complex ideas that from many different people at once. When you're framing or pitching your abstract or writing your abstract, don't say what you did. Forget that. Start with why this matters. Describe what you found, why it matters, not what you did. As an example, this paper examines X in the context of Y. Terrible, boring, don't write that. Instead, write, despite recent advances, large language models struggle with X. It tells us why it matters. Or over here, we conducted 200 fine-tuning experiments spanning 20 languages, evaluated on 6 benchmarks. That doesn't tell me much. Instead, say, from our 200 experiments, we found clear evidence that. In other words, don't say what you did, say what you found and why it matters. That is why people read research. They don't want to know a list of methodologies. They want to know what you found and why it mattered. Um, Lastly, I've consolidated some lessons learned from my mentors and advisors from across Cohere and a number of academic and industry institutions. And they've said things like the most valuable long-term impact is the relationships, incentives matter, find the right incentives for the right people and share them, find the right research problems because those will attract collaborators. And that comes from early iteration and discussion. Find your users and your critics early. Don't let geography and institutional barriers block your collaborations. Good senior collaborators, which you will one day be, will help you enable and evangelize the junior researcher's work. And to find collaborators you can use, I found Cohere and the Cohere Connect and other, Discord channels really useful to do that. Also, remember that authorship and collaboration doesn't dilute your contribution, it amplifies it. Um, And so I'll release these slides, and I would love to hear from you if there are others that I've missed that have been really useful in your collaborations and the wealth of knowledge that's in this Zoom call right now. But thank you so much, and yeah, feel free to follow me on X or LinkedIn for more of these. I'm going to post some, but I'm going to hand it back to Julia. Thank you so much.